Thank you very much, and may I acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation and pay respects to Elders past and present, to thank Rosemary and the team at the ECA for the opportunity to be a part of a very, very expert panel, and acknowledge Kelly Court, who has been working at ACOSS thank you, on these really important issues. Energy, and in our world also the debate around climate change, because ACOSS, been around for a long time, continues to work on tackling poverty and inequality and disadvantage, and both of these issues are very acutely of a high concern when it comes to protecting the living standards of people on low incomes who are vulnerable. Great questions, Andrew. Actually, I think this question of what have we talked a lot about and what haven't we talked enough about is really kind of brings up. Good on you, Chris, wherever you are. And so, look, I'm just going to quickly rattle through this because, as Andrew said, the idea of this is to trigger discussions in the room rather than for us to stand up here as various forms of kind of expertise. Look, this is the bit we all know, which is about the. I think we've had a pretty big. We've talked a lot about energy prices are going up, haven't we? We've probably talked in various levels of sophistication about why. And I think still we've got work to do on helping the public to understand the why and to try and take some of the heat and the politics out of it. Good luck with that. Certainly from our point of view, yes, I think we've got a public understanding that energy prices are going up and that they're hurting household budgets. I'm not sure that we've got enough of an acute understanding of the kinds of individuals and communities who are really particularly acutely affected by this. And so I did want to just sort of bring into this room, again, our understanding about what actually it means to not be able to pay your bill and the whys, the factors that play into that, and why in this context we're very worried about people on the very lowest incomes in Australia right now. We've got this really severe increase in housing prices. As you know, if you look at that pie chart about the household budget, it's actually housing that's the biggest spend, and energy typically on average is about, I think it's just under 3%. We've got everybody's aware of the low wages growth, but what not everybody is aware of is the fact that long-term unemployment has tripled since the global financial crisis. So whilst the headline figure on unemployment, people sort of say, oh, it's not too bad. In fact, we've got a growing proportion of people who are living on fixed income social security payments for long periods of times, and where these kinds of bills as they come in become really horrible to deal with. And also that in terms of our poverty, levels of poverty in Australia, we've got the second highest rate of poverty at 14% of the population of any of the wealthy OECD countries except the United States. So that's not something that a lot of people talk about. We're trying to encourage the Australian government to actually engage with us on the level of poverty in Australia, and we'd love them to talk a bit more about that. Just to flick through... to highlight for you, for those that are not the geeks in social security, that many people are aware about what's happened with the sort of flattening out of wages growth. Not as many people understand what this graph means to the health and well-being and livability of people in the community. This is the story for people who are variously affected by this, who are living in the bottom 40% of the income brackets in Australia. So see that top one there is the average wage that's gone up since 1990. This is because these are pretty small figures here. So right at the end it's the 1990 up to 2017. The purple one is the average wage. Your green one is your minimum wage. The blue one there is the level of the pension. So this is the income. This is how much money you've got to spend when you're not in joyful, fully paid work. You'll see the pension level ticked up. That was 2009 when the previous government increased the pension by about $32 per week. And then very ugly is the red line at the bottom, which is people who are relying on Newstart, which hasn't been increased over 2 decades. Okay, all right. This is just to highlight again that why the picture of energy prices is really severe for people on low incomes is because people in the bottom 20% of the income brackets disproportionately spend much more of their overall incomes on energy, in contrast to people in higher quintile brackets. So this graph just shows you the percentage of your income that's being spent on average on energy in a household. And right over on the left is the bottom 20% quintile. And we've got about 5% of people who are spending 30% or more of their income on energy, which is really severe. On average in that group, it's lower. It's down to about 6%, but it's still much higher than other households. Okay. I'm going to talk about the what haven't we talked enough about now. So this just talks to you about the fact we talked a lot about energy prices and some of the factors that play into that, the market itself, obviously, market design. We've talked increasingly, and Rosemary, you of course touched on this, about the engaging in the market, the power of the consumer in negotiating a good deal in the market. Alleluia, we're talking more about that. We don't think we've talked anywhere near enough about the ability to pay. And so I just want to kind of spend a bit more time on this. I want to acknowledge you, Andrew, for the work that you did with ACOSS as an energy consultant and also with the Brotherhood of St Lawrence, where we did this most recent piece of work to unpack the various factors that acutely affect affordability for people on lower incomes. So our analysis is that it's essential that we equally focus on 5 different outcome areas. And as I said, we've talked a lot about energy price and the engaging in the electricity market. We have absolutely dropped the ball with some notable exceptions on energy efficiency and large-scale opening up of the capacity to improve your productivity. So all the issues around distributive energy and, you know, the solar panels bit for people in rental properties on low incomes and how we properly design that so that it's equitable and efficient. And, of course, for us, again, the capacity to pay. And it really is, for us, a very cruel irony that we have a federal government in particular that says that it's very deeply concerned about energy prices, that it's front and centre in all of its political and social and economic effort, at the same time that it wants to abolish the measly energy supplement, which was introduced at the time of carbon pricing in Australia. It's the few dollars, a few people in the room who are involved in designing that package, few dollars that was the supplement to put on the top of the base rates of the Newstart and the age pension. And the government wants to take those away. So that's, I just want to kind of come back on our obsession with the incomes picture, because, but also about the reality of life for people who are renting. And of course, what we think is fantastic is there are some great examples of programs associated with improving the equitable sort of participation by people on low incomes and in rental properties in taking up the benefits of technologies, but it's nowhere near at the scale that we actually need to properly tackle the affordability problems for people on low incomes. And in our view, as we continue to have this very hot debate about the neg, we think we need a package which travels with that, which specifically addresses these other outcomes. Otherwise, we'll have various politicians debating the success of the neg and how much average prices dropped, and it will completely mask the fact that we predict the reality for people on low incomes will not have improved. In fact, it will have become increasingly worse. Thanks, Andrew.